Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So, I want to talk about the Phoenix Suns, easily the most underwhelming team in the NBA this past season, I think, if I do say so myself. This was a team that just last offseason we were touting as the team that's going to win it all. When they made the trade, they had Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. Then they got Bradley Beal, which was the big trade in the offseason. And then they also traded DeAndre Ayton for Jusuf Nurkic. Which honestly, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I thought for sure DeAndre Ayton was a better option than Jusuf Nurkic. I still, to this day, think DeAndre Ayton could be a very, very good player if he would just go to a team that would make him a priority. You know, DeAndre Ayton's a guy that I feel like a lot of people judge very unfairly. There's been times where, like you can see it. Like, I don't know, when you watch DeAndre Ayton play for the Portland Trailblazers, right? Like, when he, I remember, I think it was Brogdon, Anthony Simons, and somebody else was out for whatever reason. Like, they were injured for a while. I think it was, Scoot Henderson was out for a while or something like that, but when it was just pretty much DeAndre Ayton Jeremy Grant, I think, was the guy that was out. I don't remember, but I do know, like, there was, like, a stretch where a couple guys for the Trailblazers were out, like some of their primary ball handlers and some of their main scorers, right? Some of those guys were out, and DeAndre Ayton got elevated opportunity, and there was certain times where it's like, you know, he would put up, you know, 20 and 14, 20 and 15 with like 2 or 3 blocks. Like, DeAndre Ayton, I think, has the ability to be very, very good if somebody would just give him a chance to be the main guy. Kind of like Jared Allen, you know, like in Cleveland. Like, yeah, Jared Allen kind of gets swept under the rug in the Cleveland Cavaliers rotation, but if you let him, like, go out there and eat, he can do it. You know what I'm saying? Jared Allen was another guy that was like, when he gets opportunity, he can give you a 20-20 some nights. And I feel like that's the same situation with DeAndre Ayton, but that's neither here nor there. The thing is, the Phoenix Suns went out of their way to put together this team of superstars, okay? And they finished the season 49-33, which was the 6th best record in the Western Conference. Now, that's not a bad record, but the thing is, they did not do very well in the playoffs. You know, they lost in the first round to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they got swept. I mean, like, they didn't even win one fucking game. And for the Phoenix Suns to have a guy like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant also on their roster, to get swept by a team that has, like, significantly less playoff experience than some of the guys on your team, you know, to have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and you get swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert on their team, it's not a good look. It's really not. Like, this is a team that should have, at the very least, made the second round. And they didn't, right? Then, of course, Frank Vogel took the fall for that. They fired Frank Vogel. I don't think he was the problem. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Frank Vogel gets treated very fairly in the NBA. I don't. I think he's a great coach. It's just he keeps getting put on shitty teams or just in shitty situations, right? Like, he was the head coach for the Orlando Magic. I get it. It wasn't that great, but the roster really wasn't that great. Then he's the head coach for the Lakers, and they get rid of him because I think they missed the playoffs, right? And then he goes to the Phoenix Suns, and they make the playoffs, and their team is really, like, it's not bad, but it's not what anybody expected either, and they get knocked out in the first round by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's purely from a depth issue. Like, the Phoenix Suns, like, yeah, they brought in Mike Budenholzer, and I think Mike Budenholzer is a great coach. He's a guy that I think he could lead them to a better record than Frank Vogel can, but I don't think it's going to be anything significantly better than what Frank Vogel put up. You know, Frank Vogel pretty much worked with what he had there in Phoenix, and they were still, like, top 10 in offense. They were ranked 9th out of 30 teams in offense, and 13th out of 30 teams in defense. For having a team that is pretty much, I don't know, very, very limited on resources for what guys you have coming off the bench. Like, I'm not going to lie. They still got Eric Gordon coming off the bench, and he has a player option for next year. But, like, you got fucking Eric Gordon out there on your bench. You have Drew Eubanks out there, right? Like, they're taking swings on guys like David Roddy, and, you know, they have Thaddeus Young on their bench, who's a great vet, a guy that they ended up getting, right? Like, they had some good vets on that roster. You know, they have Nasir Little, they have Bol, who it felt like they traded for Bol or picked him up off of waiver wires or something, and he just wasn't ever the guy that they expected him to be. Royce O'Neal was a nice pickup for them. Like, they had some really nice small pickups. You know, I understand that the Josef Nurkic trade for DeAndre Ayton was kind of a trade for them to add depth to their roster, which they did. The problem is, like, this team is good, but, like, on paper, it looks like alright, but it's really not great. And that's the problem with the Phoenix Suns is, I think officially with, like, the new CBA and the way the league is going with the first tax apron and the second tax apron, it's going to be incredibly hard for teams to come out here with 3 max contract players and try to win a ring. I think we're officially back into that era of, like, where teams just have 2-star players, maybe a third if they can get away with it, and they're going to have to build out their bench if they really want any shot at winning an NBA title. Yeah, there are some teams that are exceptions to the rule. You know, like, for example, you look at the Denver Nuggets, right? And even the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? The Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that it's like, you can get away with having 3 max players on your team, but it really depends on what positions those players play and how good they really are. Like, Bradley Beal, to me, was an unnecessary trade. Like, I don't know why they did this, because Bradley Beal, don't get me wrong, great player. He's a solid player, but is he a guy that was worth the amount of money that he's getting paid? Absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? Bradley Beal has arguably one of the worst contracts in the NBA. I understand the Wizards gave him that contract extension just because he's their hometown guy and they wanted to show love to him and, you know, all this other stuff, you know, make nice with Bradley Beal. Like, I understand that, but for the Phoenix Suns to have traded for him, it put them in salary cap space hell, especially when you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on your roster already. Like, this was a team that I thought when they traded for Kevin Durant was going to go in the directions of, like, what the Los Angeles Clippers were doing. You know, you got, you know, Kevin Durant is, even at 35, is still one of the best players in the NBA. He averaged 27 points a game this year. You know, he shot 85% from the free throw line, 41% from 3, 52% from the field. He was 56% on 2-pointers. I mean, Kevin Durant, even at 35, is still one of the best players in the game. And Devin Booker is arguably the best shooting guard in the league. But the problem is you added Bradley Beal, and you didn't need to add Bradley Beal. But, you know, like, instead of trying to fill out your bench or get some solid role players around Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, the new owner came in, Matt Ishbia, I think his name is, and wanted to swing for the fucking fence. And I now feel like the Phoenix Suns are in the same situation that, like, the early 2010s, 2011 Brooklyn Nets are in, where they traded their entire future to add star power to their roster, and it's not going to win them a championship. You know, like, I hate to say that. Like, don't get me wrong. I think the team could definitely be better this upcoming year now that they've played together for a year, and it seemed like towards the end of last year, they really started to get things together, but this is a team that mortgaged their entire future for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Phoenix Suns only have 2 picks. They have 2 draft picks over the next, like, 4 or 5 years. Like, they have a first-round pick in 2024 in this draft, this year's draft, this upcoming draft here at the end of June, which is pick number 22. And then they have a 2028 second-rounder from the Boston Celtics that's protected from 31 to 45. So, essentially, a fucking, like, middle schooler, early high schooler right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, 4 years. So, yeah, they have a freshman in high school that they can draft. this is a team that just needs to, ideally, if they could get rid of Bradley Beal, that would be ideal, but I don't think that's going to happen. And unfortunately, this team is locked in unless they want to trade Kevin Durant. Now, that is another option, but the problem is Kevin Durant wanted to go to Phoenix. Kevin Durant wanted to play with Devin Booker. He wanted to go to the Phoenix Suns, and he's there now, but the problem is this team is not a championship team, and Kevin Durant is 35. You know, and honestly, like, the problem with the Phoenix Suns is if they trade anybody other than Bradley Beal, right, or Jusuf Nurkic, there's only 4 guys that are eligible to trade. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Jusuf Nurkic, and Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause. Kevin Durant, if he goes, Devin Booker's going to want to go. So really, it's Jusuf Nurkic, and that's pretty much it. And really, I don't even know what you could get for Jusuf Nurkic. He's not like one of the best centers in the NBA or anything like that. Like, he's good, he's solid, but, you know, he's not Joel Embiid, you know? So I really don't know what the Phoenix Suns are going to do. I mean, if we look at their contract situation, it's obviously salary cap space hell. They are, at the very least, locked into this team until the 2025-2026 season. Yeah, they have Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen's a guy who's locked in until 2026-2027 with a player option for 27-28. They have Nasir Little locked in, but after that, it's like, you know, Eric Gordon has a player option for next year. Josh Okogie has a player option for next year. David Roddy has a team option, which I'm sure they're going to bring him back because they just want young talent that they can maybe grow. Damian Lee has a player option that he might pick up. Drew Eubanks is locked in for next year. Bobo is an expiring free agent. Thaddeus Young is an expiring free agent, and Isaiah Thomas is an expiring free agent. They're locked into this. Royce O'Neal is an unrestricted free agent as well. This team is well over the second tax apron, and if they want to add any depth to this roster, it's going to have to come in the form of guys that are just signing vet minimum deals to play for this team. And even if I'm a vet, right, if I'm an experienced vet, maybe a guy like Gordon Hayward, right, a guy that's a vet, he's still got something left in the tank, he could come off the bench for you and provide some bench scoring. If I'm Gordon Hayward, why in the world would I go to the Phoenix Suns? You know what I'm saying? Like, Gordon Hayward's a guy that's a former max contract player, a guy who is still capable of going out and getting you about 20 points per game when you give him the minutes, right? It's just, why would you go to Phoenix when you could go to, I don't know, well, he's not going to go to the Oklahoma City Thunder because he's leaving that situation. He's not even playing. But if you can go to a situation like maybe the Milwaukee Bucks or the New York Knicks, or, well, maybe not even the New York Knicks, because the New York Knicks, they don't like anybody that doesn't play defense, and Gordon Hayward's not exactly a model of defense. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, or even like the Miami Heat, right? The Miami Heat would be a team that he could go to and come off the bench and just score points for them and get play time. It just, I fail to see why anybody would want to go to Phoenix. You know, like, especially after how underwhelming their season was, where everybody's like, oh, look out for them, look out for them. And then, you know, the season gets here, and yeah, they had a winning record, but there's too many holes or inconsistencies with this roster for them to make a serious playoff run. Honestly, what would have to happen is Bradley Beal or Devin Booker would have to move to point guard and be relegated to point guard, when I think both of them are better off as scorers. You know what I'm saying? Every guy that they have on their roster that's a star player, and Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Jusuf Nurkic not so much, but their 3 main guys are all better off without the ball in their hands. Maybe you have Kevin Durant do it, I don't know, but because Kevin Durant is capable with the ball in his hands. I mean, they all are, but they work better off ball. Kevin Durant's better in isolation. Like, they're not necessarily pass first guys. Devin Booker's capable of doing it, but does he want to do that? That's the question. You know, this is a team that wanted to go after TJ McConnell, and you know, they couldn't make it happen. They had serious interest in TJ McConnell this past season, and the Pacers were not going to give them TJ McConnell. And even if you're a team that tries to trade with the Phoenix Suns, it's like, what the fuck are you going to get back? You know what I'm saying? Unless you plan on trading me Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, you know, I'm not interested in really anybody else on your roster. Maybe Grayson Allen. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you could get something for Grayson Allen, but Grayson Allen was very, very good for them. If they get rid of Grayson Allen, you know, that's a really, really big loss for their team. Grayson Allen was, you know, really, really stepped up for them. Eric Gordon's got a player option, but Eric Gordon's not good on defense. So, I don't know, man. This team is just, I don't know what their plans are. You know, there's going to be a lot of guys entering free agency. They might get someone to go there. You know what I'm saying? They'll find a point guard to go there on a vet minimum deal. I feel like that's definitely going to happen this offseason. I think they're going to make that a major priority. But it just, when you have 3 guys on your team that need the ball in their hands at pretty much all times, I just don't think that's a recipe for success. You know, even with the Denver Nuggets, Michael Porter Jr. is a guy who's taken the back seat to Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic his entire career, right? And he's still got a max contract. But the thing is, right, Michael Porter Jr., if he had his own team and people would just let him do what I think a lot of us know he's really capable of doing, he could have a Mikal Bridges type of surge where he leaves this team and goes to another team and suddenly he's a 24-point per game scorer. Michael Porter Jr. was that talented in high school and he's still that talented to this day, but because he's relegated to be a third option essentially on that team, Michael Porter Jr. is a guy who doesn't get a lot of opportunity. So that's what I think is the main issue, is that, you know, one of these guys has to take a back seat to the other two, and it's Bradley Beal or Jusuf Nurkic, one of the two, because Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are definitely not taking less shots. So this is a team that has a lot of holes to address. They need to address their bench depth. I mean, they have guys on their bench that are good, but they're not great. You know, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place for a very long time. And I have a feeling in the next year or so, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant both are going to want out of Phoenix. You know, especially with Kevin Durant being 35, Kevin Durant wants to win. I feel like that was part of his reasoning for going to Phoenix. But the problem is, you know, like, you know, if you're somebody who would trade for Kevin Durant, which is going to be very hard to do because he's making almost $50 million a year, you know, even if you're somebody who wants Kevin Durant, right? Like, it would be easier for you to trade for Devin Booker than it would be for you to trade for Kevin Durant. And even then, like, even Bradley Beal's making $50 million a year. They got 3 guys on their roster making about $50 million this upcoming season. So I just think to myself, like, this is a team that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are probably going to want out, and they're not even going to be able to trade them, or they're going to have to take significantly less than they want to get them off their roster. And that's most likely what is going to happen. I have a feeling Kevin Durant and Devin Booker both are going to get incredibly disgruntled before their contracts are over, especially Devin Booker, when you consider that he's locked in until 2027, 2028. And the same thing with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's got 2 years left on his deal. He's making $51 million next year and then $54 million the year after that. You know, Kevin Durant's going to be a guy that I don't know if he's going to want out of Phoenix, but if I was a betting man, I'm going to say he's going to want to. And, you know, at that point, Kevin Durant will be, what, 37? You know, who's trading for a 37-year-old Kevin Durant? You know, I don't know, maybe somebody will because it's Kevin Durant, but, you know, at 37, you know, even LeBron, you know, LeBron is what, 38, 39? You know, even LeBron, after a while, eventually is no longer going to be the player that he is now. You know, and even now, he's a shell of his former self of what he was when he played for the Miami Heat. So all I'm saying is the Phoenix Suns have a lot of roster evaluation to do. I have a feeling they're going to kind of be forced to come off of one of these guys, whether it's Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. I don't think it'll be Devin Booker. I think it'll be Kevin Durant or Bradley Beal way before it's Devin Booker, just because of how long he's been there and how much money they're paying him. But you never know. Some team could make a really, really enticing offer for Kevin Durant. You know, maybe I can't think of any team that comes to my mind immediately. Like, honestly, I'm a Pacers fan. If they could find some way to get Kevin Durant, I would fucking piss my pants, but it's not going to happen because the Pacers simply don't have, I think, the contracts to make it work. Plus, I don't think they want Kevin Durant, especially with, they have Benedict Mathurin and Jarris Walker, and they have a lot of young talent. But a team that's maybe one piece away would maybe trade for Kevin Durant. A team like, even maybe a team like the New York Knicks, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like the Kevin Durant, the Knicks could make an enticing offer for a guy like Kevin Durant or Devin Booker that would put them over the top. We saw what they could do with Jalen Brunson and even Julius Randle. Like, Julius Randle's position is not exactly secure on the Knicks, especially after the playoff run they went on. If you're the New York Knicks front office, you got to be like, well, maybe they'll take Julius Randle plus stuff if I try to get Kevin Durant, or it's not going to be Devin Booker, but, maybe I could get something from them in a Kevin Durant where I give them Julius Randle plus, I don't know, Miles McBride and something else, or maybe I have to give up Dante DiVincenzo or any of these guys. I don't know. I don't know what a trade like that looks like, but I have a feeling somebody's going to make a trade for Kevin Durant, or they're going to make an offer, or the Phoenix Suns are going to try to come off of Kevin Durant, simply because they can't come off of Bradley Beal unless they make some type of really, really enticing, convincing offer to get rid of Bradley Beal. But then Bradley Beal has the power in his hands with the no trade clause. So, yeah, this team is kind of fucked. I'm going to call it what it is, man. They are in salary cap space hell, and they are paying an awful lot for it. So, tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. Helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.